One glance, an original lesbian love story. The air in the bakery hung thick with the scent of fresh bread and cinnamon. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating motes dancing in the air and settling on the dark wood of the counter where Clara nervously tapped her fingers. Her gaze was fixed on the bell above the door, each jingle sending a fresh wave of anticipation through her. Today was the day she'd finally see Elina again after what felt like an eternity. It had been 3 months since their paths had crossed in this very bakery, 3 months since one stolen glance had ignited a spark that refused to be ignored. Back then, it had been pure chance. Elina, with her easy smile and eyes that twinkled like the stars, had walked into the bakery, and Clara, captivated by her, had lost track of time watching her. Now, emboldened by weeks of wishful thinking and silent longing, Clara had decided to write Elina a letter, pouring her heart out onto paper, confessing the feelings that had been echoing within her. With trembling hands, she'd addressed the envelope and dropped it in the post, knowing full well there was no guarantee that Elina would ever write back. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Just 2 days after sending the letter, an answer arrived, bringing with it a mixture of disbelief and elation. In Elina's elegant script, she had accepted Clara's invitation to meet up. And here Clara was, waiting, hoping against hope that Elina would like her as much as she liked her. Suddenly, the bell chimed, pulling Clara from her thoughts. Her heart skipped a beat as she turned to see who had entered. And there she was. Elina, even more radiant than Clara remembered, stood hesitantly in the doorway, a questioning look on her face. Time seemed to stop as their eyes met, and a blush warmed Elina's cheeks. "Clara?" she asked softly, her voice like music to Clara's ears. "Is that really you?" A wave of emotion washed over Clara, a mix of nervousness, excitement, and pure joy. She stood up abruptly, knocking over her chair in the process, and rushed behind the counter to hide her flushed face. "Oh, I'm sorry," she stammered, mortified. Elina laughed, a melodious sound that echoed through the bakery. It was the sweetest music to Clara's ears. "Don't worry, it's quite all right," she said, walking towards Clara with a reassuring smile. "I just didn't expect to find you here." "Me neither," Clara admitted, leaning her head against the counter, unable to meet Elina's gaze. The truth was, she'd never imagined that Elina would actually come. But here she was, standing before her, as real and as tangible as the loaf of bread cooling on the rack beside her. The next few hours passed in a flurry of activity as Clara helped Elina pick out pastries and basked in her infectious laughter. They talked about everything and nothing, and yet there was an undeniable current of electricity between them, an unspoken tension that hummed beneath their conversation. Clara found herself stealing glances at Elina, drinking in the sight of her. She noticed the way Elena's eyes sparkled with intelligence, the gentle curve of her lips, the thoughtful furrow of her brow when she concentrated. And Elina, for her part, seemed equally captivated by Clara, hanging on her every word and mirroring her gestures. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the bakery floor, a comfortable silence fell between them. It wasn't awkward or forced, but a quiet companionship that spoke volumes without sound. Clara knew she had to say something, had to voice the feelings that had been swirling within her, but the words wouldn't come. Breaking the silence, Elina finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. "Clara, there's something I need to tell you." Clara's heart skipped a beat. Was this it? Was Elina going to tell her that she didn't feel the same way? Fear threatened to overwhelm her, but she pushed it down, determined to face whatever came. "I've been thinking," Elina began, her gaze fixed on the pastries displayed on the counter, "and I realized that I really like you, Clara. A lot, more than just a friend." With those words, the dam broke. Clara's carefully constructed composure crumbled, and tears welled up in her eyes. She fought to hold them back, afraid that showing her vulnerability would push Elina away. But it was no use. Seeing Clara's tears, Elena's eyes widened in alarm. She reached out, her touch gentle and reassuring. "Oh, Clara, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. I just thought you should know how I feel." Taking a deep breath, Clara wiped away her tears, forcing a smile. "It's all right. I'm sorry. I just got a bit emotional." "It's just that," she hesitated, searching for the right words. "It means a lot to me that you like me too." Relief washed over Elena's features, and she returned Clara's smile, this time genuine and radiant. "It means a lot to me too," she whispered, reaching out to tuck a stray strand of hair behind Clara's ear. The touch sent shivers down Clara's spine, and for a moment, all she could do was lean into the caress, reveling in the closeness. When they finally pulled away, Elena's eyes were shining, and she looked at Clara as though she were the only person in the world. "Can I kiss you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The question caught Clara off guard, but before she could even respond, Elena leaned in and pressed her lips against Clara's. It was a tentative kiss, soft and sweet, and yet it ignited a wildfire within Clara, burning away any remaining doubts or fears. She melted into the touch, her arms winding around Elena's waist to pull her closer. The kiss deepened, and Clara felt as though she were soaring, floating on a cloud of pure bliss. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. Elena looked at Clara, her eyes shining with happiness, and whispered, "That was amazing." Embracing Elena, Clara couldn't help but agree. "It was," she murmured, burying her face in Elena's neck. The bakery, with its warm glow and comforting scents, faded into the background, and all that mattered was the feeling of Elena's body pressed against hers, the taste of her sweet lips on Clara's tongue. Hand in hand, they walked along the moonlit streets, lost in their own little bubble of happiness. The world around them ceased to exist as they strolled, stopping to admire the twinkling stars or sharing whispered jokes that echoed in the quiet night. They walked for hours, talking about everything and nothing, their laughter mingling with the soft music drifting from a nearby café. As the night deepened, the conversation turned more serious. They spoke of dreams and aspirations, fears and insecurities, sharing their deepest selves with a vulnerability that only deepened their bond. Finally, as the first hints of dawn began to paint the sky, they reached a park nestled in a quiet part of town. Sitting on a bench beneath a towering oak tree, they watched the sunrise, hand in hand, content in the knowledge that they had found something special, something worth cherishing. As the light of day broke over the horizon, banishing the darkness, Elena turned to Clara, her eyes shining with love and gratitude. "I'm so glad I found you," she whispered, leaning her head against Clara's shoulder. "Me too," Clara replied, her voice filled with emotion. "Me too." In the quiet solitude of their embrace, they knew that they had found something rare and precious, a love that had bloomed in the most unexpected of places, a love that had been worth waiting a lifetime for.